Good evening. Welcome back to Will to Heal. I'm your host, and today we're picking up right where we left off in episode 5, which was the letter to my younger self. That moment for me was the beginning of a very deep shift in my healing journey. And today we're going to talk about what healing really looks like. I want to be clear. Everything I share on this podcast comes from my lived experience and educational training and counseling. I also want to add a gentle disclaimer. Some of what I talk about today may challenge what you've always believed. I just ask that you stay open and that healing is a deeply personal path for each individual person. The first thing I want to talk about is what healing isn't. Let's start here because sometimes we think we're failing at healing when we're actually right in the middle of it. Healing isn't perfection. It's not linear in nature. It's not about fixing other people. Healing is awareness. It's owning the truth. It's allowing yourself to feel, to grieve, to hope again. It's not about being happy all the time. It's about becoming whole in yourself. You might find yourself doing really well one day, and then suddenly you may feel like you're gone backwards. That doesn't mean you failed. It just means your body and spirit trust you enough to show you more. Where do you start? You start with one step, one breath, one honest moment. Healing doesn't require you to change everything all at once. It asks you to start where you are. This is where the 4 domains of healing come into the picture. Healing happens across 4 main areas, and those are spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical. If we only heal one area, the others will keep calling out. Now let's break down each domain. The spiritual domain. Spiritual healing is about purpose, connection, and self-trust. When we reconnect with purpose, we feel more alive. Purpose ties into connection with ourselves, others, and with God or a higher power. Discernment is a form of spiritual knowing. Some people may call it intuition. I think of it as the quiet voice of your spirit guiding you, and it's a knowing that bypasses logic. When you've lived in trauma, you often stop trusting yourself. Rebuilding that discernment is part of reconnecting to your spirit. There is also research showing that people who integrate spirituality or religion into their healing process tend to have better therapeutic outcomes. That's because spirituality can give us meaning, structure, and hope. Energetically, the spiritual domain touches everything else. Energy doesn't just disappear, it moves. That's a principle from physics. Trauma holds energy, but so does healing. In ancient times, sound chambers were used in temples to rebalance the body's frequency. Sound healing, chanting, and even music work within our nervous system on a very real level. Reiki is another example of energetic healing. It involves channeling life force energy through the hands to calm the nervous system and help the body process blocked emotions. I know it sounds unusual to some people, but thousands of people have experienced the results. The next domain is mental. The mental domain is about beliefs, thoughts, and how you interpret the world. Trauma teaches us lies, that we're not safe, that we're unworthy, that it was our fault. Healing mentally means confronting those lies with truth. One of the most well-known therapies in this area is CBT, also known as cognitive behavioral therapy. It's widely used because it works. CBT teaches you to identify and change harmful thought patterns. It literally helps you rewire your brain. This ties back to episode 4, where we talked about trauma's effect on the brain. You can't heal a nervous system while your brain is still telling you you're worthless. Changing those scripts is mental healing. Discernment also lives here. When your mind is aligned with your spirit, your thinking becomes clearer. The third domain, emotional. Emotional healing is one of the most things that people avoid. And this is for a good reason. It's extremely painful. But emotion pain it's not your enemy. Avoiding it, however, is. Our emotions are messages. When we feel anger or grief or shame or sadness, it's not weakness. It's your body's way of communicating. Dr. Brené Brown has done incredible work on this space. She teaches us how to name our emotions and move through them. Her research on vulnerability shows that allowing ourselves to feel is one of the bravest things that we can do. When we heal emotionally, we begin to make peace with our past. We stop carrying emotions that don't belong to us. The fourth domain is physical. Trauma doesn't just affect the mind, it lives in the body. We discussed this in episode 5. The nervous system, muscles, gut, immune system are all impacted. Some of us may carry trauma as a chronic pain or fatigue. Healing physically might look like gentle movement, breath work, TRE, known as tension and trauma release, touch therapy, getting enough rest, hydration, and nutrition. It also involves reconnecting with your body in a way that feels safe, rebuilding trust. Physics teaches us that our bodies are electric. Our cells communicate through electrical impulses. Our heart beats and brain fires because of energy. Healing physically realigns that electrical system. Now for me, my turning point was after writing that letter to my younger self. I noticed changes in every domain. Spiritually, I felt a deepening connection to God and my own intuition. Mentally, I began challenging the stories that I had been told. Emotionally, I cried in ways I hadn't in years, and it felt like release. Physically, I started breathing again, deeply. My body no longer felt like a battlefield. And I realized something very powerful. When we cut the tethers of shame and silence, our energy returns to us. Our power, some would say, returns. How do you begin this process, you might ask? You don't have to do it all at once. Just start somewhere. Here are some practices that you might try. Write a letter to your younger self, or have your younger self write one to the you of today. Ask yourself, which domain have I neglected? Which one feels safe to begin with? Practice one small thing this week in that domain. Healing is sacred work. It takes courage. It takes honesty. And it takes time. You're allowed to start messy. you're allowed to start again. Now, next week, we'll dive into episode 7, Parenting Through Awareness, breaking the cycle when you weren't taught how. Until then, be gentle with yourself and keep going, because you're not just healing you, you're healing generations. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.